You're listening to the Bible as literature.
Hi, this is Father Mark Boulos, and you are listening to Todesy Tuesdays with the Bible as Literature podcast. In this episode, Father Paul stresses the importance of going to the biblical text, not going back, highlighting how Paul's letters and even Luke's gospel were written to specific individuals, challenging the tendencies to read these texts as universally applicable. We want to make Scripture timeless to elevate our power, but its power lies in its direct address to its original audience. I am honored to introduce Father Paul on the Bible as Literature podcast, Todesy Tuesdays.
I repeated that example of mine in Sunday when we met the young girls, which I said several times. Chrismation is mystical. The Roman Catholics followed the Jewish tradition. Their confirmation is a bar mitzvah, meaning you have to prepare the person. But my critique against the Roman Catholics is that the test to decide before confirming the young person are theological questions. In the Jewish tradition, there are no questions. The little boy or girl has to prove that he or she can read the biblical text. And that's the nice word, the son or the daughter, the child of the commandment. Where is the commandment? Is in the text. What does it say? You have to learn to read it. Now they are practically like the Christians. You have the reading from the Torah, and then you have a sermon. But you don't need a sermon. I mean, why should you sermon about the parable of the Good Samaritan or the Pharisee and the publican? It gets boring. And we in the Orthodox Church have the same reading every day. So can you imagine year after year talking again about the Good Samaritan? You don't need that. And Luke is smart. He said, like Jesus said, okay, you got it, young man, go and do likewise. Abuna, what can I say? What can I say, you know? Said it all, but it bears repeating and giving these examples. And the people are, my classic example is this woman who asked me, is God merciful? I told you I got a standing ovation. This was one of my last classes. I said, concerning all the others in this class, the other 49, definitely God is merciful. As regarding you, I cannot tell you until the Lord comes. Is God merciful? No, I'm not talking about myself, Father Paul. I'm talking about all of us. I mean, we know the all of us what it means. Abuna, I don't know what to tell you. People start talking about the Exodus as the Jews coming from Europe to Palestine. That's not the biblical Exodus. But people tell me, we don't have pharaohs anymore. I know we don't have pharaohs anymore. We don't have Alexander. We don't have Julius Caesar. We don't have Herod. We don't have Sadducees. I know that. And perhaps we should revisit why the epistles of Paul are not universal epistles. Actually, in the tradition of scholarship or biblical study, you refer to the other letters as the Catholic letters, because they are not addressed to specific people. And then in James you have all the 12 tribes in the diaspora. But the letters of Paul are specific, 3 of which are addressed to individuals. And in this regard, we can say that Luke, who is the closest to Paul because of the Acts and so on, addresses his book to a specific person, Theophilus, which puts it in my mind not on the same level, but from the same perspective as the letters to Timothy, Titus, and more importantly to Philemon. Well, today we don't have a Roman patrician and slaves anymore, which means what? You debunk Philemon, which, according to me, in many ways, I said it, it is the summation of the whole biblical message. So we have not to go back, we have to go to the text, because the text is written and it's being read to you today. And these same Brits are still reading Shakespeare. And it speaks to us today. In which sense it speaks to us? This universalism, it's deadly, deadly. It is not addressed to us. It is addressed to the people of that time. And we can give examples. The story of Genghis Khan does not ring in the same way in the ears of a Mongol or Chinese or Tibetan, someone from that area. The way it rings to a citizen of the state of Utah. Although Utah has a desert and Mongolia has a desert. And I would like to add, actually, the 2 words, like Horeb, is linked to Hereb, which is war or sword, and Sinai, and notice the dual, the plural, of the same root as the burning bush. So you have the sting of fire, the judgment. And you have it in the story of Aaron. In Exodus 32 to 34, I mean, it's unbelievable. So that's why I keep saying that the original covenant is already the new covenant. It was renewed there. That's why with the so-called new covenant, you are in your second chance. I mean, what can I say, Abuna? What can I say? And those who speak English cannot blame me because they have a silly language where ship and cat are feminine. But the good example is the German, which is the only solid language that emulates the Greek and the Latin. You have and I'm going to make fun of Mark Twain, who made fun of the Germans, how can a young lady be an it? It is. If you don't write it this way, the teacher in Germany will fail you. Mädchen, maid, and young woman, a miss. Is a das. It's an it. Now, French, this example of mine is very important. You have different European languages. French is more Ala-Semitic languages. And Spanish and Italian. You have masculine, feminine, that's it. Although it came from Latin. This he and she was started by the French, because when you conjugate, you say je, which is I, and then the verb tu, which is you in the singular you. And then the third one is il, he, / elle, she. Which means it's a third person. But again, with the you in French, if you're talking to a woman, you have to use a feminine adjective. It's not like in English where the adjective does not have masculine and feminine. Now people say, oh, so we have to take it in. No, this is an invitation on my part to tell you, learn biblical grammar. That's what I'm saying. I'm not inviting you to be enamored with English. And ultimately, people want to subjugate Scripture to them. They want to bring it today and say something to them.
You've just heard the Bible as literature. Thanks for listening.
The Bible as Literature is a production of the Ephesus School Network.